Welcome to the Sound and Emotions Conference. It's actually our 11th Sound Healing Conference. Let me tell you a bit about myself. Let me share my screen here. I actually started out as a recording engineer. I worked with James Brown's band, and James actually gave me a hug and said, "Bless you, child." So I've been blessed by the Godfather of Soul. But as I was teaching audio recording, everybody was saying, well, we know what the equipment does, but which way do you turn the knobs to make it sound good? So I came up with this whole visual system to explain audio recording and mixing. And I wrote a book using this visual framework to explain how to mix. In this framework, each sound is an actual sphere. Volume is front to back. If it's louder, it's closer. Panning is left and right. If it's on the left, it's in the left. And frequency is up and down. So high frequency instruments like bells and tingshas are really high, and bass instruments are lower, right? And so I also then came up with a interface where I could actually mix with this in 3D. Oh, here are my books. So The Art of Mixing is the #1 selling book in the field of recording, and it's the book used in all schools around the world. And then The Art of Producing is also the #1 producing book as well. And then I came up with a 3D interface where you could actually mix with this. So you can actually see the sounds flashing between the speakers and reach up and grab them and move them around and control the mix. In surround sound, the sounds are actually floating around the whole room in full virtual reality. You can reach up and grab them and place them wherever you want, or throw them and bounce them off the walls. But then when I needed a little more healing, I got into the field of sound healing. Right. And now I've written the #1 selling book in the field of sound healing, The Complete Guide to Sound Healing. It's all about how sound works physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And this whole conference is about emotional healing. But what's interesting, of course, is emotions affect all the other areas. So when you work emotionally, it affects you physically, it affects the way you think, and it even affects your connection to source. Or you could turn it around the other way, and those all affect your emotions, obviously, right? So that's just a basic intro that I wanted to share with you right now. Today, my presentation is an overview of all the different sounds that our emotions are associated with. Let me close this one and go to my presentation here. Hi. So here's the deal with emotions. What I've learned is there's two main problems. One is you're not feeling and expressing your emotions. And this is a very big problem. And then the other is you're actually feeling them, but they keep repeating and they don't move on through, so you can get back to your own stable, consistent vibration of you, right? You are a perfect, pure spirit, humming consistently in every way. Your soul is humming consistently, which is peaceful. You are part of Source, which is totally peaceful. Some people say we are universal love, totally peaceful. You are not the emotion. You are a perfect spirit, right? So we'll come back to that. And throughout the conference, you'll see different people talking about different methods of expressing emotions, different methods of releasing emotions, and then also different methods of what I just said, of moving through emotions that keep repeating. You can actually see these emotions repeating in the brain. when you have trauma, you actually see a theta loop going round and round, like you're just reliving that trauma in the brain, right? Or if you just have a stuck emotion, like, you know, I can't believe what they did, can't believe what they did, can't believe what they did, right? Then you can see that in the brain actually repeating, right? So here's the basic problem. As babies, we were professional sound healers, right? If you had anything going on, you expressed it with a sound. Wah! Right? We had it down. It was built in. And then around 1 or 2, they go, shh, shh. And then you get to school and it's like, no more sound. No more sound. And you go to work and it's like, what are you, interrupting people? Except around here, right? Ah, right? Right? So we lose that God-given ability to be able to express ourselves exactly like we did when we were professional sound healers as babies, right? And then we have to go to a class and learn again how to express ourselves. A lot of people have problems expressing their emotions with words, and they aren't the best way to express them because words kind of twist the emotion. Words often label the emotion, but often it's difficult to get words that really express it without labeling it and just letting it be, right? Words don't get into the nuances of these feelings that are wafting through us, right? So sound is the best way. But here's the big problem. Most people say that emotions are like 80 to 100% of the cause of all disease. If this is true, then what we're going through in this conference could save your life big time. It could double your lifetime, right? Ultimately, if you get it down, you'll never die, right? Right? Most people say they're the main cause of disease. Other toxins like food or pollution, stuff in the air, they say those wouldn't get in if you don't have an emotional opening. So even so, emotions are still the cause, right? Maybe you can have an accident, but maybe, there's something emotionally behind why you chose to have that accident. Who knows on that level, right? So emotions cause disease. This is really important to know, right? But here's the other problem. If you don't feel your emotions, you're already dead. So here's a serious conundrum. Emotions, especially negative emotions, as we'll talk about, that are chaotic, can kill you. Like fear, if you stay in that sound for days and weeks and months and even years, first the kidneys go, can't handle it anymore. Kidneys are associated with fear, right? The whole body, it's not good for the body, right? It's like it will really break you down. But if you don't feel your emotions, you're dead, right? So this is what I've realized is it's all about how long you let them last. The main point is if you're not feeling good, figure out a way to shift it. We're not meant to feel bad here in this planet, right? It's tricky, very tricky. But if you're in an emotion that is not good for you, it is killing you. Figure out a way to shift it. And that's what this whole conference is about. First, feel. And if you don't like it, how you feel, shift it, right? Some say if you just sit with it, it will shift on its own. And that can be good, but If it's been a few weeks, maybe you should try something else, right? It's interesting because, I used to think if I was in a stuck in an emotion for like a week, I thought I better do something, right? I mean, I don't want to live like this, not feeling good, right? And then I thought, well, maybe it shouldn't be even a day. If I was stuck in an emotion for a whole day, I thought, God, I just wasted a day when I could be feeling better, right? Maybe it should be shorter. And then I got it down to 3 hours and then an hour. And then I thought, why feel bad at all? Let's get it down to 15 minutes. A student actually brought in a research project that showed scientifically emotions only last 30 seconds in your body. It's when you keep repeating that energy with your mind or with the energy in the astral field on the planet where you're just feeling it, what's out there, right? It's when you keep repeating it, or the planet keeps repeating it, that it actually continues. But the emotion only lasts for 30 seconds and then it will actually go away on its own, right? Ultimately, as we'll talk about later, the trick is getting to the point where you can nip it in the bud. I call this transmuting an emotion. We're not talking about bypassing an emotion where you just go to love, right, and just forget about it, right? That's cool, and it's not a bad technique because when you go to love, you might have more capacity to deal with the emotion. But if you just completely ignore it, it's waiting to get you in the butt. It is going to get you. It's waiting, just waiting for a similar situation to come up so you could actually resolve it, right? So they don't go away if you stuff it. But if you shift it, you face the emotion and you shift it. And the best example of that is shifting anger to compassion. I've learned when I'm driving, if someone cuts me off or is really mean, I normally always now think, what brought them to do what they're doing? It's that they are completely entrained into the craziness of our society for tens of thousands of years, into the selfishness, into the greed, right? And also, a lot of people are just suffering. They're tired. They haven't slept. They haven't eaten. They are just worn out, right? It's nobody's fault. And that helps shift it. So I'm shifting that anger, nipping it in the bud before it even gets in my system. And I know a lot of people that do this, that work with compassion and hold that energy. And the best example is the rabbi that used to teach here. He never got upset, right? He would simply shift the energy up front and transmute it. He was not a stuffer. I knew he wasn't a stuffer, right? He was not stuffing it. He would just shift it to compassion from the beginning, and the emotion would never get in. It's very cool, right? So we'll talk more about nipping it in the bud later, right? That's you have to be really present to be able to do that often, right? But if an emotion comes, you don't want to stop it because then you're shutting down your emotional body, right? It's like if it comes, it's just let it wash through you and feel it, and then it will go away on its own unless you keep it going. Unless you keep going, oh, that sucks. That sucks. That even or you go, it sucks that I got angry. It's like then you're keeping it going, right? Or especially if you say it sucks what they did, then you're keeping it going, right? So it's okay for it to come in, but then the trick is to shift it. If you're repeating it, shift it, or just let it be and let it flow on through, right? Okay, we'll talk more about that. Emotions are really well seen as music and sound. Let's talk about emotions as music. Well, music is really all about the quality of the flow. How smooth is that flow? When an emotion is flowing, there's no stress. It just comes in. It may be a little interesting, to say the least, but it flows on through and it doesn't get stuck, right? They're meant to flow through to the home note where you're back at peace as you again. Back to you, back home, like the home note of the key of a song, right? You're coming back home, right? But often they aren't that flowing. Often it's a rough song, a stressful song, kind of like this. Only what am I gonna do? Right? Right? They can have a lot of stress in their flow. But the worst is when it gets stuck. Right? When it gets to a dead end. The very worst dead end is the double bind in psychoanalysis. The double bind is the child that's being abused and has nowhere to go. Can't tell her parents because the parents are abusing them, right? And it causes schizophrenia, causes them to go out of their body, causes multiple personalities even. It's the worst stuck. It's a dead end, right? But we have dead ends often where we don't know what to do, right? And those are really, really dangerous. Like, it's like when somebody is, even if someone's like hurts you, and you don't know, oh, I don't want to express myself, because I could get hurt further, and then you stuff it, but you don't really know what to do, right? We often come to these dead ends where what do we do, right? So the spirit, being the beautiful, caring entity that it is, goes, oh, you've got a stuck emotion? Well, let's give you many more opportunities just like that one so you get the opportunity to resolve it and go to the home note where you're at peace. So often it's kind of like you get stuck for a whole lifetime, right? It's all about smooth flow. And when the emotion is resolved, which is like the home note of a song, you don't think about it anymore until you come across somebody else stuck in that loop and you go, oh, I used to be in that loop a while back. Maybe I can help you. So emotions very well match musical flow, right? But emotions are even more like sounds and timbres, tonalities, right? There are two types of timbres. You could call them bad and judge them as bad because they're timbres that break your body down and kill you. So I don't mind calling them bad, right? If something's going to seriously kill you, and we're not kidding, we are not kidding at all, seriously kill you, well, I would call them bad, versus the emotions that support your health. Not only don't break your body down, but actually heal you, right? So the ones that are bad are the ones that are chaotic or stuck type vibrations. Like, like, that's not good for your body if you're running. Or fear, like we just did. That's not good for your body. Whereas all of the higher emotions like gratitude, compassion, love, we're going to go through the whole realm here, those are always associated with vowels, which are consistent, beautiful, peaceful tones like this. Ooh, I'm going to be doing more sound. Let me fix my sound to make sure it's the best quality here. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Okay. Yes. Okay. Versus quite different, right? The consistent tones like gratitude, compassion, love, they're really good for you. When the body is healthy, every single part of the body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, is humming consistently in a healthy state versus chaotically. This is the stress, right? This is stress. It's chaos. The sound of stress is chaotic. It is not a sweet sound. And it breaks your body down. So we can, wait a second. We talk about bad, emotions, but there's one worse than these chaotic sounds, and that is resisting the emotions. It's the worst of all, right? You know what that sounds like? It is a chaotic sound, actually. It sounds like this. No! 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 There's nothing worse than that for your body. Maybe there's one worse, and that is completely frozen, right? Resistance to emotions is really not good. You gotta let them in. You gotta feel, or you're already dead, right? So here I've categorized all the emotions based on negative, things that break your body down, and positive, things that support your health, right? So basically what I've done, this is a list from Abraham Hicks, who channels, or Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. And it's a total list of all the different emotions, right? And so let's go through them. Let's go through the sound of each here. Okay. Powerlessness. I got to stop sharing to show you this one because this one's really the worst. There is no worse emotion than powerlessness. This is what powerlessness sounds like. No sound at all. Can't make any sound. It could be the same as frozen. Right? There's nothing worse. I mean, it's the opposite of flow. Just the total opposite of flow. Right? But then there's depression and despair. That would be, there's a little flow there, just barely flowing. It's like, right? It's not very good flow at all, right? Grief. I think Abraham blew it here. I don't think grief should be in this list. Grief, if you do it right, is not a grating sound. In fact, it can be a really sweet, loving sound. Oh, I loved them so much. It's sad they're gone. But the reason I'm sad is because I loved them so much, right? I mean, how blessed am I to have that love in my life, right? So grief is not necessarily bad. I think resistance to grief is where the problem comes, right? We'll talk more about grief. We're going to go into grief in detail in a bit. I don't think it should be in this list, though. I think she blew it. It's like saying grief is like something that will break down your body. I think it's something that if you don't do grief, your body will break down. I think it's kind of necessary in and on this place we are on this planet. Right? Fear is like again. That sound over a long period of time is not good for you. I mean, all these emotions are good for some reason, right? They're to let you know what's going on in the world. They're your how does Abraham Hicks put it? They're your guidance system. Your guidance system as to when things are feeling good or bad. I mean, emotions are like the whole system to let you know when you need to take action. Fear is to let you know that you need to take action and change. But the problem is, of course, we often run fear after the tiger is gone, right? There's no tiger anymore, and we're still running fear, right? That's the problem, of course. We get into the habit of it. Okay, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, not a flowing sound. Jealousy, not exactly flowing. Hatred, rage, and anger. There's good research that shows that rage actually destroys the veins in your body. Anger, if expressed healthily, in a healthy way, very quickly, and you don't hold on to it, it's just fine, right? As long as you're not like screaming your veins out, right? But it's still a rough sound if it goes on too long. It's not good, right? Discouragement. Again, no flow, no flow. The river is blocked, right? Blame. Well, blame you can't really make a sound for. Blame is impossible to make a sound of blame without pointing, right? Okay, here's the sound of blame. Well, you have to point to actually make it somebody else's fault. So there's not really a blame, but it's kind of like, is a sound with pointing. Right? It's not a sweet sound. I think of worry as a good outcome versus a negative outcome. So it's like, or, but it's really the oscillation back and forth between the two. Not a good sound for your body, not good for your heart, not good for your nervous system, not good for any organ. Doubt. No flow, no flow, right? Disappointment, almost the same. Right? Overwhelmed. That's like a chaotic vibration. It's like you get frazzled, right? You go into frazzledness. And then there's frustration, irritation, impatience, right? Again, no flow, just real short sounds. Pessimism, not a sweet energy. Boredom, right? All of these sounds and the energy of them are not good for you over a long period of time. Even more than an hour. They're not going to kill you probably over an hour or even a day, right? But over a year or more, they will. And they all add to this whole realm of not running really sweet emotions, right? And that's where we want to hang out, right? Now, here's the positive list, right? Let's do the sounds of these. Contentment. You can make them with me. Hopefulness. And optimism. Positive expectation. Same thing. Positive expectation. Enthusiasm. Right? Passion. Whoa! Full on flow, right? Love. Such beautiful flow. It heals you beautifully. Freedom. No blockages. The sound of freedom has zero. That's the definition of freedom. Is zero blockages. No worrying about what somebody else thinks. Right? Empowerment. Right? Appreciation and gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. And then joy. Right? All of those sounds and energies are not only good for you, I mean, not bad for you, they're like majorly, they will heal other issues in your body, right? They're not just neutral, they actually heal the stuck energies in your body, right? There's one emotion that I think gets a bad rap, though, and that is sadness. Sadness is not necessarily bad. There is the sadness that is like a blah, blah, you. It's not really depression, but it's just a little blah. And I've noticed when I'm sad over a period of time, it's just a low energy state over time. If you do it for a bit, it's not bad at all, right? Because it's not really that grating, but over time, it's kind of blah. It's a blah, right? But there's another type of sadness that I call sweet sadness. And that is the sadness like a sad song. We love sad songs, right? Right? It's flowing. It's not grating. It's got a smooth flow, and it's actually a sweet sound. It's not happy, but it's not really bad for you. It's like it's like when you cry and cry and cry, and you finish crying, and you go to a place of complete peace and stillness. You're not happy, but you're really at peace. It's this sweet sadness, right? It's like the energy of Kuan Yin holding all the suffering in her heart. She's not depressed. Kuan Yin's just this sweetness, right? It's really a problem too for guys, because, or for anybody actually. It's like, oh, you're sad? Let's go cheer you up. Let's go do distraction. Let's go do drugs or alcohol that will make it worse, right? Actually make it good at first, but then your system more tired. So it's like it gets such a bad rap because people don't want to sit in the sad. I love sad movies. I love to cry, right? It's so sweet. It's such a beautiful release, right? But as guys, it's even worse, It's like, what are you, a girl? You gonna cry? Well, yeah, it hurts, right? And it's like people in the military I've met, they said, oh, you don't cry. It's a sign of weakness, right? Well, this is crazy. I mean, even like football games, if someone gets hurt, what they should do is have a huddle. Everybody huddles around the person that's hurt and hold space for them to cry. And when they're done crying, you go on with the game. Yeah, right. Yeah. Wouldn't it be great instead of teaching our kids in football to not feel? Yeah. Sadness, if you shut down your sadness, or any emotion, really. You're shutting down the ability to feel happiness and joy and love in all emotions, right? So sadness is not necessarily a bad emotion at all. In fact, I relish in it. You don't want to stay there forever, right? Just like anything, you don't want to stay there forever, but it's a good way to release because one of the best releases I've found for an emotion is crying. I mean, it's like when you cry and you really let yourself cry, oh my God, I just feel great afterwards. So I'm like, where's that sad movie? I want to show me a sad movie. Let's watch it. Oh boy, yes. Oh boy. Okay. So sadness gets a bad rap, but it's really just like grief. Grief is really just sadness. And the problem is people commonly don't take the time to grieve. Oh, I got to go back to work tomorrow. I've got a big job. I'll get fired if I don't go back to work. But your mom died. Or it's okay, I'm fine. I've got, let me just go do busy work. I'll just distract myself with work. You're not going to sit and feel it? No, I don't need to do that. Right? There's really two types of problems with grief. One is not feeling. Some people, it's not that they distract themselves, they just won't go there. They just don't. It's like, oh, I don't want to feel bad, so I'm not going to grieve. But if you sit and grieve, it's not a rough feeling. It's not like, it's my, there's a really good presentation from Umanji where she does a whole song for grief. And it's kind of sad, but it's so sweet. I mean, it's just a beautiful song she came up with. You have to check out that presentation. Not presentation, it's actual song with or treatment for grief that Umanji does here in the conference. So it's beautiful, right? So if you just, it's like a few years ago, my previous kitty died, right? And I didn't try to cheer myself up. I actually called to students and I said, I'm going to take off a day. And one student said, take off the whole week. I'm like, okay, cool. And I just let myself be sad. I didn't do anything to cheer me up. I didn't play any happy music. I just sat in it and honored my kitty. And I cried, and I was like, and I just, remembered all of and went through, I talked with my friend about every beautiful thing about my kitty. She used to, put my finger to my nose and she would come and lick my nose, right? She was just, or I would cough and she would jump up on my lap to like soothe me, right? It was just incredible. And so I just sat in the grief. And I remember going to the grocery store and I was so in my body because I wasn't resisting it. And I remember thinking, everybody looks like they're running around with their heads cut off, right? And I was just so present and grounded, connected to earth. It was just great. So if you don't resist it, it's beautiful. A lot of cultures, they actually grieve for a year. I mean, I think it's in England or around England, they even have like grieving professionals that come and help you grieve, right? And do the grief for you, make the sound and sing songs of grief for you, right? It's really important to grieve, right? So the first problem is that people aren't feeling. They aren't sitting in the grief and feeling the loss, which again is not bad. It can be a sweet energy, really grounding and really just a very beautiful, sweet flow, actually, like this very sad song. And it's just honoring your love, right? The other problem, though, besides not feeling, is when you don't stop grieving. So I had a woman in my class, and she said, my husband died, and I cry every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. And I said, oh, how long ago did he die? And she goes, 2 years ago. I'm like, whoa, you've got it down, right? You are a professional griever, right? You're not, you don't have any problem feeling. You're feeling all day long for 2 years. And I said, does it feel good? She's like, not really. Kind of gets in the way of my life. Well, I see the antidote as for grief as being okay and gratitude. I went over this in the last conference, but I want to go over it and tell this story again because it's such a amazing story. Years ago, when I was in college, I went into a class and the teacher said, okay, everybody pair up and tell something really deep about yourself. And I got hooked up with this woman who said, yesterday I was at the beach and my best friend and I were swimming out in the ocean, and she got carried by the waves into the rocks and was killed. I'm like, what are you doing here? She said, well, it was really weird because it immediately felt it was okay. She said, the paramedics came, there was a big crowd trying to resuscitate her, but she was gone. And I'm like, whoa. She said she went up to the road, the hill overlooking the beach, and there was a guy up there that had been playing guitar, and he says, what's going on down there? And she said, my friend just died. And she said he played a song on the guitar that completely made it okay. Like, wow. I didn't know what to tell her about myself after that. So I went home that night and I was telling my roommates this story. And I had this one roommate named Andrew, and he was a really good guitar player. And Andrew goes, yeah, I've never played a song like that in my life. It was my roommate that played this song for this woman I just met that day, and her friend died yesterday. I'm like, holy moly, right? Well, that was over 30 years ago. And a few years ago, Andrew was in Kauai riding a bicycle and got hit by a car and was killed. And my first thought was, it's okay. I told that story at his funeral. I don't know if I can go to a place of okay very easily. You know, I mean, with my kitty, it took me a week of grieving, you know, before I was ready to be happy again, right? But I think at the highest level of consciousness, you can. You can go to it's okay. I mean, with Andrew, it was like, yeah, it was really, it's like, okay. It's the wheel of life, right? The other antidote, main antidote I see for grief is gratitude. You know, grief is based on love. You're sad because something you loved was gone. It's so easy to switch that to thank you for having someone I could love and someone that loved me. Thank you. Thank you for that bright light on the timeline of my life. Thank you, Lord. And the sound of that is really good. Gratitude is like, I remember a few years ago, I had a breakup with a really close mate, right? And it took me 6 months. I was really sad for a long time, right? And a lot of people say grief doesn't have a deadline. Well, it's true in that, that grief energy can pop up the rest of your life. But that's quite different than if you're hanging out in it every day for 2 years, right? Crying 3 or 4 times a day for 2 years. I mean, that's different. I mean, of course, if it comes and it's going to waft through you and it's like, okay, this reminds me of them, right? That's like perfect, right? But, if you're just hanging out in it and it's really affecting your life, it's really can be a problem in doing your work and just living, right? So, um, so at one point in this, after this breakup of this relationship, every time I started feeling like 6 months in, right? I'm like, oh, this is getting a little old, right? It's like whenever I felt this grief, I immediately would shift it to gratitude. And it was really cool because it was just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm just going to go, thank you. Thank you. What a beautiful love that was, right? It's really beautiful. It's interesting when you realize that you have a choice over your emotions. It's not just wafting through you. You actually have a choice as to what to feel. There's the movie Inside Out. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's this little girl that's got all these animated emotions in her head, and it's just hilarious, right? And she actually has this really beautiful memory of when she was really young playing hockey back east, and then she moves to San Francisco and has a really a bad situation where they make fun of her at school, and she changes this memory, this beautiful memory of playing hockey with her parents and just so much fun, to a negative memory where it's a bummer I don't have that anymore. When before it was like, oh my God, I love that memory. And then all of a sudden it was like, now it's a bummer. So she realizes in the end that she has a choice to choose how she sees something, whether, especially around grief, whether you see that as, wow, how lucky am I to have had that person in my life, instead of, God, this sucks, they're gone. Sucks that they're gone. It's kind of understandable, right? As long as it doesn't go on forever, right? Thank you for that bright light on the timeline of my life, right? You often have a choice over your emotions. When we're in them, it often doesn't feel like it. And it feels, I know it can feel very difficult to shift an emotion. In my next presentation tomorrow, we're going to actually talk about about 10 different ways to shift emotions when you're stuck in them with the voice, right? And these are really effective. So it's interesting because, a lot of you might know we're doing classes with 3 to 6 year olds right now. And the 3 to 6 year olds, there's one class I did where I said, well, first of all, we start with having them make the sound of how they're feeling, right? And it was really cool because the first class I go, okay, everybody repeat after me. Wah! And I'm like, oh, are they going to make the sound? Are they going to make it? Please, please, please. And then every one of the kids goes, wah! I'm like, oh, yes. And now, after 3 weeks, these kids are just making sound all over the place. They have no fear at all, and they're making the sound of how they feel, and it's just beautiful. So at one point I said, when you have a feeling, make the sound of it. Express it, Feel what you feel completely, and even express it with a sound. But if it doesn't feel good, shift it. And then I did an exercise where I say, okay, you can't just shift from feeling angry or sad or feeling really bad to joy or happiness. That's really hard to go from that extreme to the opposite. Or if you're feeling depressed, to immediately do joy, give me a break, right? So I showed them how to shift it slowly, like take much longer time to do it. If you shift it slowly, then you can actually shift it to another emotion. We'll do that tomorrow when we do all the different ways of actually shifting emotions with the voice. Okay, let me share my screen again and we'll continue here. Now, I thought it would be really cool, and I did a search to see if anybody had done it. Wouldn't it be cool to look at all the different ways that different cultures deal with grief? There is so much wisdom on this planet around grief, because every culture has its own way of working with it. Some are a little trippy, and others are really beautiful. And each one, I'm sure, has a gem in it. I would love to see a movie on all the different ways that different cultures deal with grief. Here's one from New Zealand, and this is called Haka. Right? It's a really unique way of working with grief. And this video I'm about to show you is an actual funeral process, maybe a wake, but everybody's here because this guy just died. Jerome Hadley, Nathaniel Rihari just died. And here is the ceremony they do at the funeral or wake. Check this out.
In the beginning.
Wow. Something, huh? Wow. I want to play for you a song that I did called Good Grief. Right? This is really about overcoming grief and going to a beautiful place, right? So it's not about the actual grieving, it's about transforming, right? Which if someone is just had someone die and you're doing a treatment on them, you don't go to the resolve. It's you really want to spend time and just grieve with them, right? If you're doing a sound treatment with someone, if it just happened, bring them, just feel it and feel that grief and really talk about how incredible that person was, right? It's not till later, at least a week after, that you really start going to, okay, now it's time to transform to gratitude and get on with your life, right? You know, so this is about transforming grief. Okay, let me play it for you. Enjoy. The most beautiful thing about sadness and grief is they take you out of your head into your emotional feeling body. And that's where love exists, right? So it's so easy to open your heart when you're sad, right? Often when people die, people's hearts are blown open, right? It's beautiful. They so get a bad rap, sadness and grief. I think they're often essential and they don't necessarily feel bad if you don't resist them, right? Don't stay there forever, right? The tricky emotions are when there are conflicting emotions. Like, say you're in a relationship and they leave. It's like, I hate you, right? But I love you. I hate you. I love you. I hate you. I love you, right? It's like, which you going to feel? Or, even worse, is when someone commits suicide. Sometimes people are angry at the person that committed suicide. And then they think, how can you be angry at them when they must have been suffering so much? Right? So you have conflicting emotions. I had a friend whose daughter committed suicide, and I told her, feel each one completely. All the emotions you have, feel them completely. Right? But there's another place you can go to, and that is the witness. That point of awareness, which is the camera that's watching what's going on. And that witness has zero emotions. It's just a camera. It's just noting, right? It's just recording. And it's a perfectly still point. So it's very peaceful, this point of awareness, right? So if you just watch the emotions instead of being on the roller coaster, right? It's like going from 1 to 2. Instead of being the emotions, where you're on the roller coaster, you are watching them as the witness. You identify with this point of awareness, which is your point of consciousness, and watch them. So you are not the emotion. You are just watching it go through you. And then you're totally at peace. I remember when my kitty died, there was a point when I just went to this point of awareness, this witness, and just watched the thought, oh, this is not so bad. I'm just watching myself really sad, right? And I was really at peace. This is very cool, to get off the roller coaster and just watch it, right? Just let it be. Let it flow on through. Just note the river. Just note the river of flow, right? So these are the different ways to see emotions based on vibration. Sound, timbres, and musical flows. The ones that are flowing and have a sweet sound are much better for your body. So some people say, I'm just feeling the way I'm feeling. Well, that's fine, as long as you feel good, or as long as you don't feel bad for a really long time. It will kill you. Seriously. The presentation from Jamie Liu is really interesting because she talks about how 80% of the people she works on as a psychic intuitive, right, is the physical issues are from emotions. And she actually does a treatment on me and sees the emotional issue behind my knee problem, right? And then also a lot of the presentations in the conference are about expressing yourself, being able to express it when it happens, or if you didn't do it when it happened, being able to express it afterwards and get it out of your body, right? And then I'm going to be doing that as well. Suzanne Sterling got, oh my God, her presentation was unbelievable. I mean, it's just incredible. She's a master at working with grief and talks about, exactly how to unlock that pattern, right? And then some of the presenters work with anger and how to accept anger and really just be and watch the emotions, and then to move them on out whenever necessary with sound, which we're going to be doing tomorrow big time. So thank you for joining the conference. I hope you enjoy and get exactly what you need for yourself and to be able to help others from this. Thanks so much, and take